Thank you very much for coming on board, and all thanks to GIZ and the other partners for bringing this particular training on board. And thanks to all my earlier speakers for that wonderful delivery. I'm going to top up for you, and I'm so passionate about this topic. Excel, PowerPoint, and the other Microsoft Office suite have become the order of the day. And the earlier you guys out there, and I'm referring to our job seekers and our entrepreneurs, and of course, those who are already in employment, the earlier you acquire these skills, the better for you, because you will be expected to demonstrate how skillful you are in every working environment. Serious companies these days want employees who can turn things around, problem solvers, employees who can analyze data and use that data for the profitability of their companies. Companies want to grow by using data, and therefore people who are skillful in these areas and quite proficient in these areas are being sought after day in and day out. I know I have been interviewing a lot of people, and sometimes it surprises me how job seekers are empty, totally empty. They don't know anything, even though they might have learned it once in school or once or twice, but practically they tell you they have it on their CV, but they come empty, practically don't have it. And so I will encourage you follow this particular training and then ensure that you understand the few points I'm going to be running. Of course, if you're unable to get a full package now, we at Marigold, we have very good packages for you job seekers and other professionals. You can get in touch and we'll sort you out. I will be running very fast. If you are unable to keep up to the speed, you don't have to worry at all, please. All the videos and the practice files will be made available to you. You can download them and take your time in the comfort of your home, sit and then go through them one after the other so that you will understand everything that I'm going to present. If for any reason I'm unable to touch on all the three topics again, the materials, the PowerPoint presentation, and everything that I'm going to do will be available for you to download. After which I will quickly move in to answer your questions. So let me first of all show the Excel sheet. I'm starting with Excel. I'll continue with PowerPoint, and then lastly, we will see how you can manage your emails effectively. All right, so let's go now. Okay, so on this sheet is this very simple data that I'm going to use to demonstrate some very common mistakes that beginners in Excel usually make. And sometimes you even have the working class, the professionals, also committing the same mistakes, and some other functions that are so handy that they don't use. I'm going to demonstrate some few of them to you within these few minutes. The first one that I would want to handle is your field labels, or what we call the column labels. The column labels are the headings to your Excel data. Your field labels should always be made different from the rest of your data. Many of the functions in Excel will not work properly if your field labels are not made unique. How do you make your field labels or column labels different? You can highlight it as I've done. These are your formatting tools, and that is the font and then the alignment group. You have so many of them here under the Home tab. So you can use any of them. For example, you can use the bold and probably increase the font size to 14 or any other number. You have made it different. Some people prefer dropping a color. That is also good. The second thing is about how you organize your data in Excel, and this is very much important. Right now, if I ask you whether there's anything wrong with this data, you will tell me no. Or if I ask you how many sets of data we have, probably somebody will say we have two because we have shop sales here, and then we have door-to-door sales also down here, and therefore we have two sets of data. That may not be correct. Excel sees it differently. Why? Because you have blank columns and blank rows in your data, and therefore anytime there's a blank column or a blank row, Excel sees it as the end of the data. So for example, if I select a cell here and I press my Control A, you see that this is one set of data. If I go up here and I press Control A again, another set, and when you come here also you have another set, and you can check. So it means that you have so many. And so as far as this particular data is concerned, you have as many as 11 separate data on this sheet. And many of the functions in Excel are not going to work properly for you. You spend a lot of time doing simple tasks. And so pay attention to this. So anytime you have a data of this nature, please ensure you delete all the blank rows and columns in your data before you apply any function or command, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Let me demonstrate one function out of the lot that may not work well for you in case you have your data structured this way, and that is the sum function. If you are asked to get the total amount for water, for example, in H4, you can quickly go and click the auto sum and it will sum it for you. But because of the blank column, you realize that the sum function cannot go beyond the blank cell, and therefore it will not capture the data or the figure in D4. This is just a very simple data, but what if you have so many columns that you are working with? It means that you have to spend more time doing more manual work. And so the best you can do under this circumstance is to just go ahead and select your range from D4 to G4 and then enter. All right. But then if you had kept your data clean without any blank rows or columns, you could have done it so simply. Let me delete this one and quickly do that for you. So I'll delete all the blank columns. This one, for example, press the Control key and go ahead and select, right click and then say delete. I have deleted that. Now, if I do it again, you realize that it will capture all the adjacent cells that contain figures. And so if I had more columns to my left, and that is if column B and A contain figures, it would have captured all of them to the end. With this one, you only have to enter and use your fill handle, double click it, and you see that it will populate the rest for you. Look at this again. Because of this blank row, it could not go beyond the blank cell. That again goes to buttress that particular point. So I will undo by pressing my Control Z key, delete this, and again I see another blank row here. I'll delete that one, and then come here and then double click it, and voila, I have all of them calculated for me. So it means that if I had a tall list with figures, once I do it for the first one and I double click the fill handle, if there's no empty cell in between there, it will calculate all of them for me. The third thing that I want to mention is the fact that you always need to check and activate some functions on the status bar. This is the status bar. It contains so many functions that many people don't even know. And sometimes you are working in an Excel sheet, for example, what I've highlighted, you want to know the total amount. Here, you are not able to see until you put in a formula. If you had activated your status bar, all of them will be calculated for you. For example, the sum function, the average, the count, and all that. So how do we activate the functions on the status bar? Right click on the status bar, and you see you have so many of them here. You see the sum function, you see the maximum and all that. Let's activate all of them. Okay, activate some of them. You can scan through and activate the rest. Once you step outside, you see that all of them have been captured for you. And so that is the details for the range that has been captured. So you have an average of 3,671, a count of 12 figures, a numerical count of 12, minimum of 0, maximum, and then the sum total of 44,051. If I select a range, you see that I'll have the totals. Wherever that you select, the details will be captured nicely here for you. Again, if I scroll down, you see that I don't see the top part of my sheet, and when I scroll to the right, I don't see the left columns. How can you freeze your columns and rows such that when you are working, you don't have to be going down and come up? And sometimes because of the navigation up and down, people make a lot of mistakes. They type in wrong columns and wrong rows. There is a function under the View tab in the Windows group. There's this command called freeze panes. Once you drop the arrow, you see that you have three levels: the freeze panes, the freeze top row, and then freeze first column. The freeze first column will freeze the very first column, which is column A. The freeze top row will freeze the first row, which is row 1. But this will freeze both a column and a row together. Let's try them one by one quickly. Let's test the freeze top rule, and once I click that, you see that the very first row one has been frozen, and you see a thin black line has been drawn. If you scroll down, you see that you would have the first row now remaining. One thing about freezing is that if you do one freezing and you want to do another one, you have to unfreeze before you can freeze again. Now, we want to freeze the column A. So let's go ahead and then unfreeze. We will go there again and then click on freeze first column, and you see that the first column has also been frozen. Now, how do we also freeze a row and a column together? For example, in this data, somebody will say that I want to see all my products and I also want to see all my headings anytime I scroll down or I scroll right. Now, to do that, you see where I've highlighted. It means that I want to freeze from row 1 to 2 and then from column A to B. And therefore, the next cell after those rows and columns will be cell C3. So if I select C3 and I go to the freeze panes, first of all, remember I need to unfreeze. And then I go there again. The first option is freeze panes. Once I click it, you see the black thin line has been drawn here and here again. And so once I scroll right, I'll have up to column A frozen. Once I scroll down, I'll have up to row 2 also frozen. And so whichever row or column you want to freeze, you would have that flexibility to freeze them nicely. Right. There are two more things that I quickly want to show you, and this is so much important. Sometimes when you are working in an Excel sheet, you spend a whole lot of time looking for commands. Look up here, you see a command that I've created, and that is Thomas. You will not see this tab in any Excel sheet. I have customized it so that anytime I want my favorite commands, I come here and get them. You can also do same, and I'm quickly going to show you how you can customize the ribbon so that you can create your own tab, create your groups, and move in your favorite commands so that you don't have to spend time scanning through to look for commands to work with. To create your own tab and groups, right click anywhere in the ribbon. You can be in any of the tabs wherever you are. Just right click and then go to customize the ribbon. You see this dialog box. You have your tabs here and you have your commands also here to your left. If you want to see all the commands, drop all commands and you see all the commands. So let's come here and create our tab. You see my tab here, Thomas. If you want to create your own tab, select any of the tabs, then right click it and say add new tab. You realize that the new tab and the new group have been dropped. Just click that, right click it again and say rename. Then probably you can name it John and enter. And then you can also rename your group. Instead of right clicking, you can come here and say rename. These icons can be assigned to the group. So let's go ahead and type in the name. Let's assume that you prepare something like a month-end report. So you use particular commands to prepare month-end reports, and so you OK it. And then you can create more groups, for example, and so select the group and click on new group instead of right clicking. And then you can also rename it and call it, let's say AA, or how you want to display it. So you can click OK. Then you have the two groups created under the tab John. Now you can move in your favorite commands. For the commands, you can't create them, but for the tabs and groups, you can create them. So come in here and move your favorite commands under the groups. So once you have selected, you come and add it. Again, you can click and add, you can scroll and scan through. You see that they have been arranged alphabetically. Remember, we use the command called freezing. So let's, for example, go there. I'll select in there and press my F key. It will take me to the F column. And then I should be able to see the freeze. We have the freezing options here. So I can select all these ones and move them in here because I like freezing and therefore I want to keep them here. I'll scroll up. Now, under the AA command also, I can equally select some very good commands in there. In fact, you can click, hold it and drag it. Click, hold and drag and then drop it there. Now, if you don't like any command, for example, you can click and say remove. Once you are done, go and click OK. And you see that you have your tab nicely created here. And that is John. You have month-end report and then AA, and you have your commands in there so nicely. Now, as part of customization of the ribbon, you can also line up your commands here instead of repackaging them under your own tab. How do you customize the ribbon and then line your commands up here? Drop this small arrow and you can come to more commands. Again, you see this dialog box. You have your existing commands here. By default, you have 4 of them. You can add on more. You can drop your all commands again and then add your favorite commands. Go ahead, scan through all of them, and then you can add whichever that you want. And then once you are done, say OK. Now you have your command lining up here for you. The last thing that I want to touch on is how you can replace your text. This is so important. Sometimes people waste a lot of time and they do a lot of mistakes when they want to correct or edit their text in Excel. It can be in Word, it can be in any of the Microsoft Office products. There's a short way of doing that so that you avoid making further mistakes. You see water here, it has been spelled wrongly. I intentionally did that because I know I'm going to use this to demonstrate to you. And so it is here, it is also here, and it runs through. If you scroll down, you see that even the data here contain water that has also been spelled wrongly. So we want to replace all this. How do we do that? You can go to the home tab under the editing group. You see find and select. You drop the small arrow, you see the find and replace. Any of these two can help you to find a wrong text and replace them. All right. So you click that, you have this dialog box. In fact, you can use the keyboard shortcut. Let me close that. If you press Ctrl F, you would have that. It asks you find what. So let's type in the wrong text, which is water. And in Excel, capital letters and small letters do not matter. For example, I can maintain small letters, type in the wrong text, and then type in the correct one and say water. Okay, so here I can replace all at a go. But before I did that, I think I have selected only one cell. So if you select one cell, you not get what you want. So ensure you select the range where you want to find and replace. So I'll cancel this one and go to column A, press Ctrl F, and now I have my water there. It will be replaced by water, the correct text, and then I can click on replace all. Of course, I can also do it one after the other if you want to. In fact, there are more options here, but again, time will not permit us to do that. So I'll just collapse that and then replace all. You see that it tells you that all done. We made 17 replacements. You OK it and you close it, and you see that all the water that has been spelled wrongly have now been corrected. So I will end the Excel demonstration here, and I'll continue with the PowerPoint presentation. For the PowerPoint, I want to show you this particular Word document that I've prepared. I have 8 tips for email management. I want to organize this information in the form of a PowerPoint. To get your PowerPoint presentation, you need to ensure that you have the Microsoft Office installed. Of course, we have the latest, which is the 2019, and then we have the Office 365, but you have to ensure either you have the latest or the earlier versions installed. Once you have it installed, go to the search button and type PowerPoint. Once you start typing, if you're a beginner, you can access your PowerPoint this way. You have this particular screen, and then you can click on blank presentation. With a blank presentation, it comes with its own slide, and that is a title slide. Each slide comes with its own placeholders. These are called the placeholders, and you have 2 here. You can manage your placeholders in so many ways. For example, the moment you select the placeholder, you see that you have a new tab, which is called the shape format. If you are not in the placeholder, you don't see the shape format. But once you select your placeholder, you see the shape format. If you go there, you see so many things that will help you to manage your placeholders. All right. You can also delete, selecting it, and then you press your delete key so that if you want to use one, you can go ahead and use it. For example, I want to use only one placeholder for this presentation as far as the title slide is concerned. And so I will click and then expand it to cover the whole page. Okay, now I want to go back to my Word document. You see that I have the heading, which is 8 tips for email management. I want the heading to appear in the title slide. And that is something you also need to consider, because when you're going to do a presentation, you need to put the heading or what you're going to talk about in your title slide, and then you can organize the other points in the other slides. So I'll copy the heading here, Control C to copy, come to the placeholder and then paste it. I've pasted it, and you see that the font size is very small and it drops at the bottom, so you can highlight it. You can click this one several times to make it more bigger, and then you can even drop it in the middle. Okay, you can decide to change the background of the placeholder. How do you do that? Go to the shape format, go to the styles, and then choose any theme of your choice. You can even come here and select this. Better still, for the text, you can organize it and change the font color to make it more brighter. Let's go back to the Word document. For this particular presentation, I want to organize 4 points on one slide so that it will be bigger and visible enough for my audience to see. In that case, I'll go back to my slides and then add one more slide. Okay, how do we add a slide? You go to the Home tab. In the Slides group, you see New Slide. Drop the arrow and you see the number of slides that you can insert. Different types. Depending on what you are doing, you have to insert a particular slide. For the purpose of what we are doing, you want to select the second one, which is the title, and then the content. The title and the content, because I want the title of my presentation to be on top of all the slides. In that case, I'll copy the heading, Control C to copy. Then I'll come to the title placeholder, paste it. You realize that the font color of the text is white, and therefore you either change the font color or change the background. I'll go to the shape style and rather change the theme or the color. Come here and then change it this way. You can still select it if you want to, and then center it. Okay, now I want to capture my first 4 points. Control C to copy after highlighting it, and then come here, Control V to paste. I need to do some small editing here. Now the font sizes are too small, and therefore I will highlight all of them and then go and increase it by changing it to, let's say, 44, and enter. I need to also capture the other 4 points. Now I need to add one more slide to it. Remember that I said that I want to maintain the heading of my presentation at all times, and therefore I can take a copy of the second slide. Select that and go to the new slide. Come down here and you see duplicate selected slides. Click that and you'll be able to duplicate that particular slide. What I need to do again is to delete what is here and leave the heading. Now go back and now copy 5 to 8, Control C to copy. Now come here, Control V to paste. Okay, I need to change the font again. Select all and then go here, 44, to change that. The bullet point, you can change that after highlighting all and go to the paragraph group. You can change your bulletin or the numbering here and you should be fine. For the purpose of this training, let's leave it as it is. Now, I'm done capturing my information. Okay, you need to end your presentation well. Either you drop the end or thank you slide. And so in that case, I want to drop my thank you slide. For the purpose of this training, I want to maintain one color, or if you want to use different colors, so be it. So I want to use the background theme for my thank you slide, and therefore I want to take a copy of this. Select what you want to copy. I'll go to new slide and then duplicate selected slides. I'll select this, hold it, and then drag it to the bottom. Come back and then change the text and say thank you. Having said thank you, I'm done. Once you capture your information in the slides, you need to decide on 2 things. The first one is whether you want to present all your points on one slide or you want to present it one after the other. Preferably, it is good to present your point one after the other. Some people, when they are doing their presentations, put a lot of points on one slide and they show all the points at a go when the slides transition from one slide to another. That is not the best. Sometimes you throw your audience off and you show them so many things, and as you do your presentation and you are talking on one point, they will also be reading other points, and therefore it doesn't help them to follow what you are presenting. So that is my recommendation to you. To ensure that you present your points one after the other, you can use what we call animations. To use animations, select your first point, Go to Animations tab and you see the number of animations you can use. Drop the arrow and you still have some to use. Let's use the wipe for now, and then you can select the second point, use the wipe again, select the next one. Unfortunately, you would have to do it one by one at this stage. Take your time and do it. Now slide 2 has been exhausted. Let's go to slide 3. Select that again and use the wipe. Of course, you can use different animations for the text or the points. You decide what you want to do. I want to use one throughout. So the last one, I'll capture it and I'll use the wipe. Having done that, the second point that you also need to note after you put your presentation in the slide is to decide how your slides will appear, and with that you can make use of transitions that will bring your slide in a different style. So in that case, you select your first slide and you can go to transition. You drop the arrow, you still have many of them that you can choose from. Let's use the push, for example. So I'll push in there and I'll come to the second slide and I'll push, and I'll select all the slide and use the push. And again, you can also change your transitions from slide to slide. Okay, so now we are done. But then there's one thing more you need to decide, and that is whether you do your presentation this way, where you manually select the slides and talk about the points one after the other. In that case, you will not have the benefit of the transitions and animations that you have used in your slides. As you see, the moment you select the slide, all the points will appear at a go. But if you want to present your points one after the other, then you have to use what we call the slideshow. In that case, select the first slide, go to the slideshow tab, and you have so many commands that you can use to manage your slideshow. But for the purpose of this training, let's come down here. You have the button here, slideshow. Just click that and you have the first slide showing. Now you can use your mouse to navigate through, or you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard. Better still, if you have a pointer, you can also use it. So once you press your arrow key, you have the second slide showing, and then you talk about your first point. Once you are done, you drop the second point, you talk about that, and then you can go on and drop all the points one after the other. Then you can move on to the third slide. Then you drop your points again. Once you are done, then you drop the thank you slide. Of course, we haven't covered all the foundational topics. There are many things that we could have touched on, but again, we are constrained by time. I'll end it here and then quickly move on to handle your questions. Thank you.